I've always been into journaling in one form or another, and many years ago I really wanted to make what I didn't even know it could be called art journal, but I didn't know anything about binding. There weren't any YouTube videos to learn things from in those days, so I thought, well, why don't I just do my own version, and I do a loose leaf book. A book that is not bound, where the pages are all loose inside, the best cover I could do. And this would have been about 20 years ago. So I was revisiting this book the other day, and I thought, well, who cares if it's not bound? Actually, you know, I quite like it. And I remember even making this bag for it so that everything would hold together out of an old skirt from a charity shop, and various things hanging from it. So I just thought I would share it with you. After all, even if it's not bound, it's still a journal. And this is the cover that I made for it. There's various bits and pieces. Already then I was very much into collagen. There's a, I don't know if you can see, there's a little doll here inside the ring, and various objects, and everything is strapped in organza and just gold fabric for binding the actual cover, but not the papers inside it, and a bit of rope for fastening. And I had called it then the Book of Free Wandering, because it's just basically everything and anything in it. There you are, 1998, so that is quite a while ago. And this was all stitched. I probably wouldn't have that patience now of writing all that with a needle. And this was an altar photograph. Already then I was doing this stuff and putting photographs in bleach to make it go all red. Another paper, and again all the swirls are covered in a zigzag stitch with glistening blue thread. Note from my daughter. And this was a little textile work that I did then. And at the back is more stuff from my daughter, hearts and drawings and lots of things about love. She was always such a loving wee thing, and that was her then. And more hearts. And this was just an A4 clarted in red paint, and then I just put this bit of fabric on it because I liked it, and I did a crochet chain all around it for framing. Again, I don't know if these days I would go to that extent, but at the time I really wanted to make something special, and articles that struck me for being interesting. Again, just a piece of synthetic lace with golden stitching and French golden knots, and more quotes at the back. And I like the way the writing is crisscrossed with the golden thread. Massive leaf that rather lost its colour through the years, but it's still there and is not broken. Piece of marbling. This was a thing that struck me for being interesting. The politics of pleasure in Cameroon. This white guy, all looking all kind of sniggery and complacent, having a photo taken with some of the locals with their bare breasts, and it disgusted me then, and it still disgusts me now. Bit from a blouse or something, again, that had accumulated over the years, mounted above a piece of marbling. My jokes, probably a very satirical one, political one. Dozens of bits of gold fabric on this wrapping paper. Again, would I do that now? No. Che Guevara, of course. Glittery Christmas paper with another tiny textile composition. Really very simple stuff. Nothing more simple than some silver wrapping paper with a piece of organza. And more poems and quotes from books and magazines. This I called it for my sissy. My sister died age 52, and she was very fond of cross stitching, and she gave me lots of threads at one point, which I never really used because I'm not really into cross stitch. But as a memory to her, I thought I would make a sort of page envelope, and I put them in there. And this was a sample of one of her cross stitches and her thread, and it does make me a little bit emotional to see this now. Just gold fabric on purple background. I once did a photography course at college, and we were experimenting, we were learning to print negatives and actual paper prints, and this was one of the exercises we did, and I've always kept it. Monster. Tiny heart on a painted plain background. I do think this is rather nice. I think we are falling into the trap of overdoing things and using too many layers and too much stuff this quite obsessively, while sometimes going back to something really simple like that can be just as telling as a complexity of stuff put on. More marbling. And this is actually my Indian ink technique I've done a video of recently. I've always used this technique because I've always found it very effective, and it's actually lasted the years quite well. And this is an old black and white photo of my partner with his brother, and this again is him there, an old school photo. My mum, photocopy of a very old photograph. My mum when she was young. Kitchen paper and a little golden doily. Again, very simple but nice texture. Collaging. Just rubbing pastels on wallpaper. and the feather. Again, very, very simple in those days. Quote, if you act like there is no possibility for change, you guarantee that there will be no change. Noam Chomsky. A tiny sample of crocheting that I did in gold. And the blue painted paper. This is an open mouse, sort of, or squiggle, or whatever. And this was a resist with pastels and Indian ink. Again, very, very simple. And I opened, I cut this window. Very, very simple, but I think it's still effective, and I think I should do it again in one of my journals today. And these are more threads from my sister's cross stitching. Just a sample of fabric that I liked on painted paper. And this is a photo of a textile work that I got hanging upstairs. It's just a detail of it. All sorts of things stuck on it too. Watercolor bleeding stitches. This is an old painting I did, and for some reason I took a photo of it in black and white. I don't know why, because the whole idea was actually the colours. It doesn't really make sense in black and white. This is one of these building tapes that is actually very sticky, and I thought I would use it to trap some thread underneath. Actually, I must do it again because I do think that's really rather graphic and lovely, and I still have some of this tape. More Indian ink resist, the little ball. Oh, this was one of my first experiments in free machine stitching, and it's so much fun to do. Yeah, again, it's another thing that I must do again. So here's a naked man with a pot of flowers and just some cut paper. This was a composition I did with rhododendron, autumn rhododendron leaves that can be very, very, very colourful. So I just stitched it on there with the machine. And a photocopy of a landscape with my daughter in it, in a beautiful place where we used to live. Collage of silver paper and kitchen paper. Again, all stitched. It must have taken me ages to do that. More marbling. This is another very, very simple composition that again proves my point that sometimes simple is best. I just did a very simple running stitch with a machine round in black, and I just stuck on some beads and two little fishes. And I always think that just one small black detail on a white background can be very, very effective. More wallpaper with golden fabric. And that's it. And that's the back cover, my front cover. So I shall tidy it up now and tie up and put it back in its bag. Thanks for watching.